Welcome back to the Breakthrough Blueprint, where we talk to entrepreneurs about their journeys and the biggest struggles that they've overcome to achieve their lives of success and abundance today. And today I have my amazing friend, Danny, and I will hand it over to him to introduce himself.
Yes, appreciate it, Mel. Thank you for having me on here. So I'm super excited to give some value to your audience and kind of go through my stories, trials, tribulations, the whole thing. And I am excited to get on here and do that with you shortly here. So
Amazing. And so just give us an idea of what do you do today for your business?
yeah, so right now today I am a full-time real estate investor. I started off as a wholesaler doing wholesaling, and that's kind of the gateway drug, I guess you could say it, or for better terminology, elementary school. So that's kind of how I started in the business.
Hmm.
And I started with wholesaling, which eventually led to getting rental properties, flipping, doing a certain strategy that I do now, which is buying out percentages of ownership. So it all started from wholesaling in the residential investing space, and then led to a progressive movement of different things I do now today. But everything is catered to residential real estate investing.
Gotcha. Wow. So what made you even get into wholesaling in the very beginning?
For me, I wanted to make more money, and I was working at a restaurant slash bar in 2018, and I had a person that would come in I was friendly with, and I told him I wanted to make more money because I was working a day job in a regular call center, and then I would work at nights in the restaurant business, and I wanted to change something up during the day to make some more money. And this guy did real estate, and apparently I thought if you did real estate, you automatically become a millionaire like that. Obviously, I was very wrong because my first years in the business were extremely hard, extremely grueling, but it taught me some amazing lessons today, especially delayed gratification, as you probably know as an entrepreneur. And I'm super thankful for the business today because it put me in a amazing financial position where I can live in Colombia, where I am now, and still
Hmm.
do the business throughout the entire states. And I never go to the properties or see them either.
Wow, that's awesome. So, like, what were your first steps? You just saved up money from your jobs and then put that money into projects?
So I started in 2018. Actually, like most people, I started getting licensing,
Mm-hmm.
and I became a regular realtor. So I was, just to kind of put it into perspective for some of the people watching too, when I first started this, I was working from 9 to 5 at a call center job. I would then
Mm.
get licensed from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., doing my courses and classroom stuff. And then from 10 p.m. to about 2 or 3 a.m., I worked at a bar and restaurant. And I did that for almost a year. And that gave me enough finances to essentially give me like a 6 month runway. So I said, hey, I'm gonna work this hard and
Mm-hmm.
this long until I have X amount of dollars saved up, and
Mm-hmm.
my lifestyle at the time cost X, and I needed X amount of dollars saved to have enough breathing room to then start in the real estate business, which I
Mm-hmm.
started in 2018 into 2019, and I was working for another investor, and I was calling. Once again, I stopped my call center job and I stopped working in the restaurant business for a short while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was calling for 10 hours a day, just cold calling homeowners. And I was working
Wow.
for another investment company. And I did that for almost a year. And I would call for 10 hours a day. And and I did that until I got a couple deals through there. I was paid a percentage of the profit, and uh, around the 2019, after 2019 marker, I branched off on my own and started my own wholesaling company.
That's amazing. First of all, I really respect your work ethic. Most people wouldn't be able to do those long hours and long days, especially when you're like studying to take, the real estate test, right? To get your license. And just, I'm sure you're exhausted. Like, I really respect that. I can't believe that.
There was actually one time I went to my call center job and I actually fainted one day because of overworking, and I definitely wasn't as healthy at the time too. But like, if
Hmm.
you talk about your levers or buckets of life,
Mhm.
like your finances, relationships, health. I was getting to a certain point where I needed to be financially, but other facets were kind of draining. And then I was able
Mhm.
to work on those things. And, you're constantly shifting, or what I call them is like levers, when you work
Mhm.
so much, maybe your significant other or friendships go down and you say, okay, I gotta pull this one down and then pull this one up. So it's constantly a kind of tug of war with it.
Definitely. And so where did you get that work ethic? Like, were your parents sort of they teach you that or?
My parents were not financially savvy whatsoever. My
Mhm.
mom had the same job for 40 years at working at a college, and my dad was a police officer in New York, where I'm originally
Mm.
from. He worked in the city.
Mhm.
And, I believe they installed very good work ethic from me. However, not work ethic in the right vehicle. So they wanted
Mm.
me to work really hard, go to work every day, get paid every week, but not in the right vehicle. So they wanted me to get a normal job, work 9 to 5, and that was it. There wasn't, wholesaling or real estate. That stuff is more like a scam. And I also wrestled my whole life throughout middle school, high school, college. So a lot of that, delayed gratification, working hard now today and seeing a result later on, was something that was instilled in me for a long while
Mhm.
before that. So kind of a mix up
Gotcha.
of a couple different life circumstances, but I definitely what I do today is I like to learn by doing and kind of fail forward. I never
Mhm.
like to have all the answers going into something. You just have to figure it out as you go.
Definitely. Wow, I respect that. And then so how did you learn like I know I've been following you on Instagram. I love that you post not only just about your work but about sort of just like saving money and investing it into yourself. Like how did you learn how to be smart with your money?
Uh, for me, it was like I got my first credit card when I was 18 for $500, and now I mean I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit lines, and still to this day I never over leverage myself or use more than I need. I just like to have the access to capital
Mhm.
in the event that I do actually need it. Uh,
Mhm.
but for me, it was at least for me, it was a very simple concept. I never wanted to get into too much debt. I remember when I was 21 in college still, I got my first credit card for like a significant amount, like five to $10,000. But in my
Mhm.
head, I still only had say $3,000 in my bank account. So I had $3,000 of cash liquidity and I had a $10,000 credit line. Now, to the average person, they would say, okay, I have $10,000 to spend on a credit card. But for me, it was like, okay, I have $3,000. I have a $10,000 credit card. That doesn't mean I can go and spend $10,000. But for me, the basic concept of accounting and general finances it was very simple to me. And when I get the credit card, I would just set it aside and
Mhm.
I would spend the exact same amount of money on my credit card than I would my debit card, and I wouldn't overindulge myself, or I
Mhm.
wouldn't I wouldn't consume more than I was actually producing financially.
Mhm.
And for me, I don't know, still to this day, it seems so simple.
Yeah.
But for some people, I think when you get it and you know that you can and you have
Mhm.
access to it, some people are different. They you know, overindulge, like in food
Mhm.
and in vices and finances. It's people consuming more than they actually produce. In this manner, it's finances.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing, and you're right, it does seem so simple, just basic math, but I think, unfortunately, a big part of American culture I think, American culture is unique in that other countries don't have as many issues with people, so far over their head in debt, but I think it's just, like, so many different factors, whether it's, like, buy a single family home because that's the American dream, even if that's not necessarily the best financial decision, and I'm sure you know that better than most people, is, like, depending on where you live, renting is probably better for a lot of people, right?
Especially, well, you're in Austin, right?
Mhm.
And the prices are really high there too.
Yeah.
So, like these major markets where the prices just got so inflated over the last couple of years, yeah, it can make more financial sense to rent and keep that sense of mobility and stuff like that too. And you're not actually tied down. And what most people don't realize, you don't really see any true gain on your property till about 10 years in. The first 5 to 7 years is all interest payments. So
Mhm.
unless you have a fluke event like COVID, which, in that event we had, hyperinflation of 10% a year for that X amount of time, but I'm not banking my money on that. That's kind of going against fundamental principles of investing, which you should always first invest for, something that cash flows,
Mhm.
appreciation, future capital gains. That's all once again speculative, but it's the extra benefits of it, of real estate.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Cause like when I'm from LA originally, and then when I moved to Austin and tons of people were buying houses here and builders here just kept building and building and building. And then sort of after things changed a few years after COVID, a lot of people were then leaving Austin. I'm pretty sure there's still a huge surplus of homes and like apartments and condos here. So I know Austin's a very unique market in certain ways. But for you, so now, like, what are the current projects that you're working on?
So I'm doing wholesaling in a couple different states.
Mhm.
And my main thing I really kind of talk about on podcasts and collaborating is kind of my new strategy, which is buying out percentages of ownership on a property. So it's a more lucrative strategy. It requires more experience. It requires more capital because you can't just wholesale the property, which in wholesaling, you
Mhm.
never actually own the property. You simply sell that contract to
Mhm.
another investor for a markup fee, essentially. So you never have to get a loan, hire contractors, raise money, or anything like that. With my strategy, which is with the share buyouts, I'm buying out percentages of ownership. So if the property is owned by, say, 2 to 3 parties, and two of the owners want to sell and one doesn't, I can actually buy out their percentages of ownership. If the title is held in a certain way, which is what we call tenants in common, I can make them an offer at a discount and buy their percentages of ownership. And then I can
Mhm.
work with the other co owner to
Mhm.
have them buy my share, I buy their share out, or we sell the property together, which usually they don't agree to any of those. And that's when we go through a court process of a
Huh.
partition sale. And likely after we get into the court process and people are starting to spend money on attorneys and they say, okay, this is not cheap. And then we usually come to a settlement that works for everybody. Like in the case of my deal I'm working on in New Jersey,
Mhm.
I bought out 67% at a discount. I approached the owner three who was living in the property. And the reason that these siblings couldn't sell was because this sister would not move out of the property. So she was essentially occupying it, and you can't evict someone that has ownership. So this woman is holding this property hostage, and these siblings, one of them had health issues, and they need to get liquidity ASAP for
Mhm.
their life circumstances. And this sister was holding the property hostage
Mhm.
essentially. I bought their share out, approached her, she didn't want to comply, and then I had a friend who referred me to an attorney there, and we filed our lawsuit against her, and then we were able to get her back on board, and now we're reaching a settlement to have her vacate within 3 months and get the property sold. So all
Wow.
is going in the right direction, and this will probably be about 9 months of time. And my just to kind of put uh, general numbers on the board so people can understand, I'm putting up $200,000 plus legal fees of my own cash to get into the deal. And I can't raise. Well, I could raise private money with relationships,
Mhm.
but I can't go to a general hard money lender and say, "Hey, 1, 2, 3 loans. I have 67% of a property. Can you fund 67%?" They think you're crazy. So
Interesting.
the barrier to entry on these deals just absolutely skyrockets. The normal Joe Schmo cannot do one of these deals whatsoever.
Interesting. Wow. So it's sort of niche within the world of real estate investing. What you're doing is not that many people can do.
Correct. And some people are doing it. I learned it from some people in Texas who are doing it. And I think I have a better model. Oh, this is just my opinion, but their model is very complex. They'll deal with 30 to 40 people on one property and buy out, 2% ownership or something like that.
Mhm.
I have done some ones where there's 12 plus owners, and
Mhm.
just it's just a nightmare. And you don't have enough leverage when you first get into the deal to be able to hire an attorney and work with
Mhm.
the other co-owner. If I only buy, say, 10% of a property and I go to get work with an attorney, I may not have
Mhm.
enough margin yet to get an attorney and work with those other co-owners. So my
Mhm.
process is 2 to 4 owners max. If there's
Yeah.
any more than 4 owners, I don't want to do the deal.
Interesting. Wow. I've never heard of this within real estate. And that's it sounds like you work closely with lawyers. I'm sure you're reading a ton of contracts yourself. It seems like you're very well versed in property law and and I'm sure that varies per state.
No, I really don't know that much. It's a lot of chat GPT and I like to take imperfect action. I probably say 70% of the time, and I'm doing this in different jurisdictions. So I'm
Mm,
literally, when I go into these deals, I don't have an attorney yet. I don't really
mm,
know the laws fully. I
yep.
know that I'm buying something at a discount
Mhm.
relative to its market value. And should I run the absolute worst case scenario, I can live with that. And that's how I look at those deals. And I make this problem, and then I find the who that can help me solve the how. So that's a
Mhm.
big thing of mine. And whoever hasn't read that book, I strongly recommend to is Who Not How. I'm sure you have
Mhm.
possibly before.
Mhm. That's awesome. Wow. I'm really impressed at what you're doing because I've talked to a couple of people on the podcast so far about their journeys through real estate from like fix and flips and wholesaling and now my friend in Texas, John Looney, he just wants to do new construction now because he said it's pretty easy. But yeah, just hearing about all angles of the real estate industry. Like my family's been investing in real estate for a while. My dad develops warehouses here in North Austin. So it's amazing to see how many opportunities there are to make money. But I feel like you said, like as long as you have the capital, because a lot of people can't do this, right? Because they don't have access to $200,000 plus legal fees, right? So you need to have that money ready for when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, this is not cheap. And the property is worth about 600,000. So I'll get back when we sell,
Mhm.
I'll get back 67% of 600,000. And then
Nice.
whatever that profit is, I can't do those numbers. So as you can see, I'm literally not this smart in doing this stuff, but I can take 67% of the
Mhm.
600,000 and whatever that is, 350 to 400, somewhere around there,
Mhm.
that's what your gross proceeds will be. And then you minus out your cost basis of the 200,000 price plus legal
Mhm.
fees. And that's your leftover profit. And I've
Mhm.
never seen the property, uh, I never worked with contractors. I'm not chasing people down.
Yeah.
It's simply in my opinion, it's a much easier process.
Interesting. So how did you even find this deal? Like, do you have a team of cold callers now or
I have callers and I do a lot of probate deals. That's where a lot of them have come from. Because when you have a probate deal and someone is deceased, the title automatically gets transferred to 3 to 4 people or however many.
Mm.
So it
Mhm.
automatically creates the multiple owner situation that I'm looking for. And then
Interesting.
I did them. I've done over a dozen of these, and I was doing them throughout the years with my other wholesaling business. And I didn't know what I was doing or what they were, but I just knew they were cool, and we made a good amount of money. And then it wasn't until a couple of years ago where I actually went to an event and they're like, "Hey, this is all we do: share buyouts, fractional interest investing." There's a couple different terminology for it, curative title investing. But then it wasn't until then I was like, "Oh, this is a real business model. I could do more of these. I could create a process around it." So that was super exciting, and actually it was in Austin, the event as well. So
Awesome. So
yeah,
you're constantly learning, you're constantly networking, going to events, learning from people. I think that's amazing.
yes. But I'm a doer, not a go to the event and keep taking notes. And I say, when's the next event?
Yeah.
I firmly believe in taking imperfect action on everything.
Gotcha. So amazing to see how successful you are. I'm really impressed at learning from where you started to where you are now. What were some of the biggest struggles that you've overcome besides like having to work that hard at the very beginning?
I mean, for me, I was obviously working very hard in the beginning, and I'm someone that has a lot of energy, likes to go out, very extroverted. So
Mhm.
obviously drinking and certain vices I've had to overcome with, and really just get back to my health. And that's always been the number one priority for me. I've gone down some paths. Like in 2018, I was doing all the wrong things, making more money, going out more. And if you don't have your health in order, by no means can you work very hard. Can
Mhm.
you take care of a family? Can you take care of a significant other? No,
Mhm.
without yourself at the best physical and mental space, you're not going to be able to do anything else. My biggest struggles was reverting back to, hey, I need to get healthier. I need to move around more. I need to just be better physically. And a big reason I'm here in Medellin is because
Mhm.
I feel I'm healthier here.
Yeah.
I can get more affordable healthcare. I could get physical therapy done on my shoulder from a wrestling
Mhm.
injury. I'm walking up and down these massive hills every day. I'm constantly going back to that because the number one thing I've struggled with and I've dealt with is just keeping my health in order, which I'm just so self-accountable. I've never in my life been obese or significantly unhealthy, but I just get to a
Mhm.
point where I'm going out too much. I'm going to parties and I'm like, okay, this is taking me away from the path that I need to go down,
Mhm.
which is a path of success and being healthy. And I see a different version of myself than
Mhm.
what I'm actually doing.
Well, that's great. I mean, Medellin has such an amazing community around the biohacking now. I feel like every day there's a new event that's like cold plunge sauna or like, peptides, whatever it is. So it's great that you put yourself in that place. I miss it. I definitely need to go back. I was there all summer last year. But so what does your daily routine look like?
So now since I've moved back here, I've kind of gotten more settled into my routine. I was getting things set up at first, but I like to wake up somewhere between 6:37, and this is going to bed probably around 10. Wake up at 6:37, go to SmartFit, which is the gym down here, as you know. I like to be there for about an hour and a half or so. Leave there around 8:30, 9 o'clock if I wake up a little later. I like to read for about 30 minutes or so, and I want to start work at 10 a.m. and then I work from 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. Or if I want to stay on another hour or so, I will. And then I actually set 4 alarm clocks during the day in about 2 to 3 hour increments to
Mhm.
just get up and move around for 10 to 15 minutes,
Mhm.
not stay hunched in front of my computer like that all day. And then after work, I'm just listening to a podcast. I'm trying to unwind. I'll maybe go up on the rooftop and go walk on the treadmill for a little bit longer. So I'm constantly just trying to learn when I'm not actually working. I read a lot of books on world economics and kind of nerd out with that and the credit system and debts and just a lot of history. I try to read because in most events the history is just repeating itself. So the better I can be a student of my sport, which is finances,
Mhm.
the better I'm going to be able to be financially in the future.
Definitely. Love that. And another question that I had was what states you said you're doing business in New Jersey right now. What states are you operating in and why did you decide on those places?
New Jersey, I was actually extremely nervous to do this deal.
Mhm.
I had a friend bring me this, and luckily it was in the county that I live very close to in New York. So I had a couple resources which made it a little better, but overall New Jersey is very hard to get occupants out. It's very liberal. So what I'm doing is very risky there.
Mm,
I am mainly doing deals on where they are brought to me via other
okay.
people, but what I am specifically targeting is North Carolina, Florida, and Arizona. That is what I am
Interesting.
specifically going after daily. And then I
Mhm.
also I JV with people and people bring me deals of, hey, I have this owner that wants to get bought out or whatever the
Mhm.
circumstance is. And then I'll look at the jurisdiction and the financial costs and underwrite the deal from there. But I don't like to do it in like California because the prices are so expensive
Yeah.
and just the judicial system is not good. So
Mhm.
If there's one place
Okay.
I won't do it is California.
Mhm. Interesting. What was one of the most profitable, like, best deals that you've ever made
In the share buyout or just in general?
in general in real estate?
About a year ago, I made $250,000 on one deal, which was a 36 unit trailer park in Sedona, Arizona. Have you heard of
Wow.
Sedona?
Yeah.
Everyone's been there at some point, and you actually drive by it every single time you go to Sedona. Um, my team got the contract for 2.75 million, and we sold it for 3 million to a buyer. It was probably about a 60-day turnaround time, but that was
Wow.
the biggest deal I ever did, and $250,000 check. I mean, it was pretty awesome.
Amazing. Have you done a lot of trailer park deals?
Uh, a lot of before the buyout stuff, my
Mhm.
specialty was doing mobile homes, and I was flipping mobile homes on owned land. And there's a difference between mobile homes where you own the land and then mobile homes where you lease the land, which is
Mhm.
like a trailer park.
Mhm.
That was kind of more like a multi-family deal, which we made the 250K deal on. And then I would flip and wholesale mobile homes on owned land,
Hmm.
which there's a lot in Arizona, there's a lot in Florida, and there's a lot in North Carolina.
Mhm.
And I'm still doing those today, but I'm not flipping as many
Mhm.
as I used to, just to reduce my risk to the market.
Interesting. So in terms of investing, do you prefer to just invest in real estate or do you also diversify into other industries and things now?
I mean, I have a good amount of money like in the stock market. I work with
Mhm.
a financial advisor, and
Mhm.
we have my stock account set up in a way where I could utilize it for real estate investing. So
Cool.
I can borrow a 75% credit line off of my stocks that I own, and then
That's
I can
awesome.
borrow that at 5%, say, and then I
Mhm.
can use that money to lend out at 15%, or use it for uh, a share buyout deal, or however I want to utilize that money. So I have some of
Interesting.
the stuff there. I do some lending out of my Roth IRA as well, which is it all kind of comes back to real estate investing because I feel that's my competitive edge.
Mhm.
A Wall Street day trader in my industry, I could get something at 50 cents on the dollar, and I can't
Mhm.
do that, at least right now, in any other industry.
Mhm. Wow, that's awesome. And how do you decide how to allocate money from, like, a real estate deal that you've made to your stock portfolio?
My stocks, I'm not really doing buying as much right now. I really only
Mhm.
buy it when the market drops, and then I'll put
Mhm.
a significant amount of money in, or my financial advisor will shoot me a message, "Hey, everything's down." And then I really only buy when everyone's going crazy
Mhm.
and the stock market is fearful or down, and that's when I put in a more
Mhm.
significant amount of money. Same thing with Bitcoin. I'll
Mhm.
buy it at a discount and then sell it later on. But I mean, I don't do a lot in whatsoever.
Gotcha. Interesting. Wow, I love that. Well, I think we've covered so many different topics here. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to get into business or specifically into your industry?
I mean, just take action. That's the number one thing. You don't need a fancy CRM, a fancy
Mhm.
dialer, or any
Mhm.
of this crap. The main thing that you need to do is just pick up your phone, which everybody has one of these, and you can start calling homeowners and making offers.
Mhm.
But I think that ties back into everything where if I could leave anybody with anything, it's take imperfect action. You're
Mhm.
never going to be able to ask chat GPT all of the questions and get all the answers. You know, you have to take the action yourself. And the best experience you can get is from the deals that you are doing or the business
Mhm.
you're running. You have to learn by doing. And the more you can ingrain that in yourself, the quicker you're going to be able to take action and course correct as opposed to the guy that's a bookworm that needs to read everything and then take the action.
Mhm. Mhm. Definitely. I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Danny. I'm so glad we got to do this. And for everyone else, tune into the next episode of the Breakthrough Blueprint.
Thanks, Mel.
Perfect.